Hello, this is a Bechstein Model 5 grand piano that's 2 meters long and made in 1885. This older style Bechstein has the lyre-shaped lyre. Lyres aren't normally lyre-shaped nowadays. They're just either straight or they're turned possibly. So it's nice to find an original lyre. That's why they were called lyre, because they were that shape originally. Beautiful piano. So I'm very encouraged to have this in stock. We have done a lot of work on it already, and it has actually been out and come back in, so just refining it a bit more. You see the beautiful rosewood. It's been repolished, French polished, very well French polished. Faded very slightly since then. We'll have a look at that. This is the fall, so everything about it, just going to go slowly because it's beautiful pianos to look at. That's the typical Bechstein style of desk for that time. That style of desk lasted a long time actually. The kind of fleur-de-lis here, and this style of Bechstein logo was for up to about 1900, 1902 or so, with these extra bits on it here, kings and kaisers. Just looking at the rest of the case really, and want to go slowly round it. They're slightly lighter on that side, as you can see. Let's have a look at the top lid. I don't think it's been held back and therefore got a fade line on it. We'll just check. So if we pull this back, we can see if there's any fade line, and there is a slight fade line. Yes, in fact there is. You can see beautiful rosewood isn't under there. If you leave this down, then it'll all fade in exactly the same. This is since 2015, so it doesn't take too long for a piano to fade if it's in a very light position. Now this is how we find most pianos when we go to tune them. So that beautiful rosewood, isn't it? Again, it's the variety of the colour of the wood and the swirls on it that's characteristic of rosewood. So if you do have the piano like this normally, so as I say, if you look under there, it is darker, and it would be good idea to have it closed some of the time. Then then the fade line will gradually disappear, and that will obviously add value to the piano. So. Yeah, but I think it's really excellent anyway. Just trying to quibble. So look round the back there. Look at the rosewood. This is on older rosewood pianos. So we've got the original lyre shape, and we've got the best rosewood, I think, the most variety. These legs, they're always faked in, by the way. The legs are never rosewood legs, so they wouldn't. Rosewood's veneer on the piano here, so those are solid legs. And they're made of various materials. Beech is quite common these days. I'm not sure what these are underneath. If you're more familiar than I am with older Bechsteins, perhaps you can let me know. Internally it's almost identical to younger Bechsteins, so from about 1885, possibly a couple of years earlier than that. The full iron frame, exactly the same as a Bechstein up till about 1910 or so. The style changes, and to my mind they're not quite as rich toned as these older ones, and the Bechstein obviously go right through to today, so they just change and become more modern sounding. I'm just looking at the strings here, appreciating them. Very good string length, is very well restored. Not too much distance between the bridge here and these bridge pins, and the start of the string. That's always a sign of a good string maker, and dead in line too. Everything looks pretty perfect on this. You can see some shims that have been put on the soundboard when it was done. That's normal. So the soundboard's been shimmed. You always end up with that. And this is a new logo put on here, new decal, which is what we would do exactly the same. So we didn't restore this piano, but very much appreciate the way it's been done. Now I just finished tuning the piano, so I can verify all the tuning pins are very tight. And they're not replaced the rest blank here, so they're larger pins, but I think they'll be fine for 30 years. Obviously you mustn't dry a piano out. I just want a small defect here where the frame is slightly crazed, the frame paint, it's nothing to do with the frame underneath, it's slightly crazed there. So but apart from that, that's not visible. Obviously it's underneath the music stand, so not normally visible. So again, good string making, and new dampers. So I don't think there's anything more to show you there. We'll just have a quick look at the inside. Actually, I forgot to mention the keys, which are perfect ivories. I don't think any of them have come off and been stuck back on. Just at the edge here of the middle C, you can see it's been slightly worn. I don't think it's worth changing that. You can't feel it in your fingers. These little hair cracks here, that's typical of Bechstein's really, and other makes too. You can't really do much about that. Again, it's not worth changing the fronts. We can do it obviously if you want us to. We've got plenty of spare ivory fronts, but I think I would tend to leave it because the colour match won't be quite as good. So that's just another small defect. This has the original Bechstein tide action, which goes right up until the 1920s again. You get a mixture, then you get some without the tide action. I've made other videos about this, so just to say that it's just as good. It's just a bit harder to work on. It takes longer if you're a technician. You want to take the keys off from the top. Sorry, take the top off from the keys. Then you have to undo the tie here between the top and the bottom. I'll just quickly show you another piano to see show you what I mean by that. Here's a 1911 Bösendorfer with capstans. So this is a normal modern action, say modern 1911. Really, this action is used in most pianos. So most pianos conform to that style with this capstan here, which you can turn instead of a rocker, which you've got to turn both screws on, and set-off buttons. Well, that was the same on the Bechstein too. So this is a very similar restoration to what we would do, changing hammers, shanks, and rollers, and so. That's been done by somebody who's a restorer. I'll let you know who's done it if you buy the piano. But you can see hardly any wear on the hammers here. So you can see just enough to voice them, enough to get the unicorda pedal with a bit of contrast. So that's excellent. They've changed the felts under here, as you can see. Changed various felts in the piano. On the side of the hammer here you can see the name Arbel, which is the two main hammer makers, Arbel and Renner. There's a summary of the piano, and we've done a very great deal of work on it, regulation and so on. I haven't mentioned earlier, but now it's very fine regulation. We've got dampers and let off good, so those are all regulation that we had to do previously, and has all been completed. It's been lubricated too. There's still some voicing and key weighting. 63 in the bottom bass should be more like 53, 59, 54, and it varies. You see middle C here is 57, which is really a bit higher than we want as well. 54 is about right, so it's really 48 here. Quite varied, and I think we'll have to do some key weighting obviously to even it up. If you want it heavyweight then or lightweight, please let us know if you're interested in the piano, and then we can customize it for you. Now let's compare the tone of it with other pianos. This is the 1911 Bösendorfer, 170 centimeters long. And the new 48179. So that's a Bechstein Model 5, that's 2 meters long, made in 1885. To say it sounds very old, but in fact the piano is extremely similarly constructed to the same piano in say 1910, and extremely beautiful. And sings beautifully. It has a beautiful touch too. The weighting needs to be perhaps a little bit less, but you get a wonderful sense. I just mentioned before that the Bechstein touch is possibly my favourite. I don't know what it is about it, but I just find it very Moorish, shall we say, meaning I want to play more and more. Very good contrast between the una corda and normal playing. If you're interested in the piano and can't come in and would like to try it out, then we have a scheme where you can pay a monthly rental, all of which is deducted off the purchase price of this or any other piano. Thank you very much for listening.